case is very important in the history of medicine, not only because of the sad fate of the boy David Philip Vedder, but also because of the enormous chain of ethical problems it poses, to which there is still no unequivocal answer. Recall Tolstoy and his passage about unhappy families. The Vedder family, devout Christians, were unhappy because of genetic problems. Their oldest son, David Joseph Vedder III, passed away at the age of 7 months. The diagnosis was dire and almost impossible. SID, aka alum-phosphatoses, aka Glanzmann-Rynecker syndrome, aka severe combined immunodeficiency, aka thymical nephroplasia. After the described case, the disease gets another name. The essence of the disease is as follows. A genetic defect that disrupts the thymus gland, as a result of which the born child has no, or almost no T lymphocytes, and B lymphocytes are there, but not working. The disease usually occurs with a probability of 1/100,000 newborns, except the Navajo and Apache Indians, there the incidence is 1/2,500. However, if a boy is born with the disease, there is a 50% chance that the next boy will be the same. The only chance to save a newborn's life is a bone marrow transplant. In the Vedder family, the potential donor was their daughter Catherine. Apparently, that's why they decided to give birth to an heir after all. Especially since Baylor College of Medicine physicians John Montgomery, Mary Ann Stout, and Raphael Wilson assured the parents that if TKID did happen, they could place the boy in a sterile box before the bone marrow transplant. For some reason, no one thought about what would happen if the bone marrow didn't fit. The baby was born, the bone marrow didn't fit. The boy was left to live in a sterile bubble. He was baptized with disinfected holy water, and remained incarcerated for a dozen years, almost to old age. Before entering David's sterile cocoon, water, air, food, diapers, and clothing were carefully disinfected. David himself was touched exclusively with special plastic gloves embedded in the bubble wall. Toys, books, and other items were cleaned of even the slightest traces of glue and labels, then placed in a chamber filled with ethylene oxide, and incubated there for 4 hours at 60 U acute C, after which they were aerated for 7 days. Curiously enough, the ethical issues of the process were raised by the doctors once, in 1975. There was a board meeting at which John Montgomery said that if he could, he would do a similar project again, with another child. When asked, "How long do you intend to do such projects?" he replied, "Until I decide that no more information can be squeezed out of it, or until the outcome of the project is clear." No more ethical conciliums were assembled. When John was 6 years old, experts from NASA decided to experiment on him, making the boy a spacesuit for walking. However, the boy could not bring himself to put on the suit for a long time, there were germs in it. And then to get out of the bubble and see for the first time a lot of objects. Anyway, only at 6 years old the child took more than 6 steps in one direction. And NASA published a detailed article about the experience of building a children's spacesuit. The 80s began. The US government began to make noises about the subject of too expensive, already more than $1.3 million, experiments, becoming uncontrollable David, and a lack of hope. True, it was unclear what was being proposed to kill him, or what. The parents flatly refused, and then the team spent 3 years trying to convince the parents to allow bone marrow transplant, all from the same sister. No, it didn't fit anymore, but some results in the fight against rejection appeared in 10 years. The parents were persuaded and the surgery was performed, and, by the way, against the boy's wishes, it was caught on film. It turned out that the surgery was a verdict. The Epstein-Barr virus was dormant in David's sister's bone marrow, which, as future Nobel laureate Harold Zerhausen had already established at the time, causes mononucleosis and Burkitt's lymphoma. Yes, almost everyone has this virus, but almost everyone is crushed by the immune system, which the baby didn't have. First, in the bubble mononucleosis, he got sick all over, had to be extracted from the bubble. For the first time in 12 years, his mother touched her son, and the boy immediately asked for the Coca-Cola he had dreamed of all his life. No Coca-Cola was given, and hundreds of tumors were discovered. Burkitt's lymphoma, coma, parental divorce. The disease got the name Bubble Boy Syndrome. David's personal psychologist and best friend Mary Murphy was never allowed to publish the true account of his life, written at his request, and the touching words, "He never touched the world, but the world was touched by him," were written on his tombstone. Is there an unambiguous ethical solution to such a case? We honestly don't know. But David Vedder deserves to be remembered and pondered every time the question arises of what is best.